Stanford University.
When we're talking about the creation of the American Constitution, we almost always look at the years 1787 and 1788, the Constitutional Convention, and then the ratification debates. What I try to show is that actually the period thereafter did as much to create, in a very meaningful, literal sense, the Constitution. Americans at the time, rather than taking a constitution that they more or less understood and applying it to new, novel situations, they instead always found themselves having much bigger conversations. They were debates really over what the Constitution was, because that didn't have an obvious answer. I think some really good examples come from the very first year of the first federal Congress. No Congress in the history of the United States has ever had more to do, because they had to set up a whole new national government. The workload was immense. And yet, just a month into their proceedings, in May of 1789, James Madison proposes that there be departments of Foreign Affairs, Treasury, and War, and he says at the head of this will be a secretary, as the Constitution says, will be appointed by the President with the advice and consent of the Senate, and will be removable by the President. And a congressman from South Carolina, William Lawton Smith, stands up and says, "What do you mean removable by the President? The Constitution doesn't say anything about that." They then spend weeks debating this simple question about whether or not the President alone has this power to remove executive officers. It's not really ultimately about whether the President does or does not have this one power. It's really a debate over what do members of Congress do, what do Americans do when the Constitution is silent on something. We tend to think of the Constitution as, like statutes, contracts, treaties, a brand of law, but originally, at the beginning, there were lots of people who pushed back against that idea, who didn't think it was legal in character. It gets at this real point that the Constitution and how you apply it doesn't have any obvious answers in 1789.
For more, please visit us at stanford.edu.